Hey everyone, welcome to Spiritual Journey. My name is Colleen Jorgensen. It's hard to believe that we are about to enter December. 2025 has just whoosh gone by, and it has been a bit of a wonky year. So if you kind of have felt like things have been off kilter, you're not alone. Or if you feel like things have been really stuck, or you're walking in some sort of bizarre world, you're not alone either. So we enter December, and right away on the 4th of December, we hit this super moon that is a full moon. And full moons are always this point where there is more emotion, there's more awareness that we are tapping into, almost like the light comes on and we see things for what they really are. And at times we discover we're not in the position that we thought we were in, and we're in a completely different place than what we had believed. And, full moons are those times in our lives, and every month they arrive that we kind of get our bearings. And sometimes we become accustomed to situations or people because we are living in that situation and it becomes normal for us, especially for children living in really difficult situations or strange situations. They don't really see that there's anything abnormal about that. And a full moon really highlights that situation, that gosh, where am I? Like, what am I doing? You could only imagine if all of a sudden you were in an asylum and there's this moment at the full moon where you realize that you're in the asylum and you're not off in some different world. And so that's why they often called full moons a lunatic. And it caused people to be kind of a bit stir crazy. So with the supermoon, it kind of puts extra punch on that with the emotions and the awareness. And of course, it brings high tides. The oceans get a little more volatile, and we can kind of feel stressed by everything that's going on as we try and grasp and figure out our location or what situation we're really kind of in. So this is a tale that we're weaving, really. The moon's at 13 degrees of Gemini. It arrives at 4:14 p.m. Mountain Standard Time, 3:14 p.m. Central Standard Time, 5:14 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and 3:14 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. So the moon is really close, and it's in this a really agile sign of Gemini. And Gemini is about information. Gemini likes to gather information. It doesn't want to release information necessarily, but it needs to know everything. And so that's why Gemini is associated with gossip. And it needs to put all the pieces together. And it's kind of dangerous in Gemini because all of a sudden, if we're missing a piece, we can create this tale that we weave, right? And conspiracy theories start to emerge, and we begin to narrate a certain scenario that is going on. And this moon is very much like that. And it's very much about things like mysteries unfolding, secrets are still emerging, scandals, intrigue, and espionage. So there's a lot of social media, a lot of speculation, a lot of news outlets or issues with the news themselves. And we're kind of gathering all this information. And as we gather this information, we begin to make a choice about what is real and what is just fiction, right? Because a story is quite often fictional. And we need to be very cautious about the elements that we take in to determine whether this is giving us the correct information or not. Gemini is a mutable sign, and we have a lot of mutability here. We have the full moon in mutable signs with the sun and the moon. We have Mars in Sagittarius, Venus in Sagittarius, another mutable sign. And then, of course, we have Neptune and Saturn, which have backed up into Pisces for their final journey. And then we have the South Node and the North Node in this mutable energy. And mutable energy shifts and adapts to whatever its environment is, right? So this is an interesting scenario that begins to unfold. And maybe it unfolds in the news media, maybe on social media, maybe on some other platform, but people can start changing their perceptions as new information comes to light. And it changes our minds, right? And making things seem bizarre or very, very inconsistent to what we believed. Sometimes standing outside the door and looking in is so much different than being inside and dealing with certain issues that seem implausible, that seem unreal, especially within our structures that hold the backbone of our societies together. That really is this really real? And so there's going to be a lot of negotiations here, a lot of agreements. Trade is on the table because Gemini is associated with shipping and trade agreements. And ironically, with this full moon, with its crossroads here between the North Node and the South Node, we really could be struggling on which direction we want to go here. So choices are going to have to be made. And there's almost like this breaking down, I guess, of mechanical breakdowns, disagreements, arguments forming that cause a lot of discontent and disagreements. Now, part of that is because Mercury is in Scorpio, and it has been traveling through Scorpio and Sagittarius for a while now. And so we can go back a little bit into October, and we can kind of figure out if we look to October 21st or November 27th, which is coming up in the next couple of days, November 27th and 28th, as to what is happening, what information is coming out, what unsettling news is bubbling to the surface as secrets begin to emerge. And there's a deeper discussion here as exposure is unveiled. So it kind of reminds me of the Epstein files in the United States, sex, scandal, secrets, people in high positions, and the information that is very well hidden. And so we have this energy that is surrounding this full moon that is very much about those things. Scandals definitely can begin to play out. And so, but these mechanical breakdowns as well can also be associated with your vehicle or mechanical breakdowns in certain electronics, certain things like the internet, breaking, like a sudden snapping of a connection. You have to really watch for scams, exposure, files being released when they shouldn't be. Just keep an eye on your paycheck to make sure it's accurate, your bank accounts, because there's a lot of hacking that is can be surfacing. And somebody could be trying to pull the wool over your eyes. So we could hear more of that in the news as well. I just heard about those Bitcoin machines where you don't get money out, but you buy Bitcoin and you put money in. And there's a new scam going around that somebody calls and says you got to go and put money in. So we're gathering all this information, and why are we exactly gathering the information? It's filled with slander and possible gossip and innuendos and speculations. And we do have to be a little bit cautious. And this is because Mercury is heading towards Uranus. So this is this shocking, just boom, like shocking information that starts to materialize, and it kind of blows us a little bit away. And that happens. I'm just going to check this out when that happens. So that happens around the um, the 10th of December. And that's an important time because Uranus is going to station direct. So there's a lot of this unpredictable energy surrounding this full moon. And also as we head into the future in the next couple days with this unpredictability, sudden storms, sudden information coming to light, arguments, um, you know, like unawareness, like, whoa, I never knew that. Where did that come from? So it could be somebody's perception of what is going on of you. Maybe they're talking about you, and you all of a sudden hear about this, which could cause instability and this like deer in the headlights kind of look. So that you need to be aware of that. Of course, the moon is ruled by Mercury. And so all of those things I've just mentioned are really highlighted. Movement, vehicles, mechanical breakdowns, you got to really, really be cautious with this full moon for accidents, and or electronics, things that aren't working properly, that all of a sudden your vehicle isn't. But there could also be sudden storms that arise through this week in December that really throws us off as well. So there's an unveiling and exposure that comes to light with some information. And it's in the White House, maybe it's about the Epstein files. Maybe it's about some negotiations or agreements that Canada has made that is we weren't aware that that was happening, because it's kind of like embedded underneath, and then all of a sudden it's in the news. So Saturn and and Neptune have backed up into Pisces, into this very strange energy. But Pisces is the birthing canal or the womb. And Neptune is sitting at 29 degrees of this. And it's like the water is breaking and just gushing out and ready in January, at the end of January, to move on to be birthed and action unfolds. So this Pisces is a finishing up with Neptune and Saturn being right there really close, and the limitations that somebody is trying to stop certain information from coming to light. So there's delays, there's pressure here, containment, control of this birthing process and how we're going to approach it and what we're going to do. And of course, Saturn rules the governments and corporations and infrastructure and all those things. So there's a missing pieces that we're in a hall of mirrors that we're not sure which avenue or which direction needs to be taken next. A lot of pressure is being applied to get this. That's what I feel, that a lot of pressure is being applied to get this going in the background. So when it comes to light, it's not going to be such a big deal. That it's not going to cause the chaos that it would if it came to light now, I guess. So Mercury is also applying to the Black Moon Lilith, and it's like somebody is ready to release something. Somebody is ready to speak out. And most likely, we've seen with the Epstein files, many women coming forward. When Venus was in Scorpio and Black Moon Lilith is still in Scorpio, Mercury is still there. So you have this undercurrent that somebody wants to say something, somebody wants to release something. And the opposition to Uranus is just this sudden, unexpected, just this shocking indication that there's more here, this mystery that there's more here than what we actually thought. And of course, what is it worth the risk, right? Because Uranus is in Taurus. Is it worth the effort? Is it of value to me for that to be released? And it causes disruption. There's a lot of like chaos that is surrounding some of this information. Now, Pluto, of course, is in the new sign of Aquarius, and Pluto rules Scorpio, where Mercury is, and down in the trenches, right? The death, the death of the way we used to think, the death of our perception as it once was, and as things come to light. And it really draws our attention to change, to reformation, to transformation, to just going in a totally different direction from whence we came, that we're fed up. And this could really affect society as a whole, not just societies in North America, but societies in other areas and jurisdictions. We've already had uprisings in several locations against government. And there's more support here for the community. There's more support for each other to survive, I guess. And so there's an exchange that has to take place. And the exchange is paramount. If I give you this, what are you going to give me in return? And that law of exchange seems to be really important for freedom, equality, and it is like a negotiation as to what that exchange is going to be. And believe me, it's not going to be what it used to be. It's our perception and our values and our worth of certain commodities are shifting and changing. And so Uranus steps in here back into Taurus, and we really want to know if it really is what we want. And Gemini really says, what choices do we have? So this sudden shift in perception due to new information is very rapid in motion. Now, Venus is in Sagittarius, which rules Uranus, and it really highlights this truth and justice in Sagittarius. And you know, the truth is really stranger than fiction. And so we can, like I said earlier, like go, wow, like I never imagined, I never seen it that way. Is completely different than I even believed possible. And so the courts and the judicial systems can definitely step in, and Jupiter is ruling Sagittarius in Cancer. So this, and Jupiter is retrograde, so this could be related to the past connections to family or family involvement. Or if you've had a disagreement with a family member. And what is the truth of that disagreement? And is there an ability to communicate out that disagreement? Along with land disputes, the housing industry, and land disputes may be related to the Indigenous in Canada or in the United States, even because we're both Cancer countries, and issues over who governs certain parcels of land, and the housing industry, of course, and the cost of living. So old wounds can start to fester because Eris is close to Chiron. And so there's this old wound of being left out, being excluded. And that really comes to light because Mars joins Juno and says, are you really committed? Have you really made that commitment? But Mars is squaring Neptune and Saturn in Pisces. So is this just an illusion? Is this just a bunch of confusion? Did we miss something somewhere along the line in our perception of things? And that is very possible. If you just think to an argument, and you think of yourself as being right, only to discover, geez, I never looked at that way. And that really seeks to break it. And it could break it out of anger, hostility, to shatter that truth, to shatter that make-believe fictional scenario that we've been all led to believe. So this full moon, of course, really struggles against itself because in the midst of this full moon is the South and North Node, which are really saying that we're struggling between the past and the future. And which choice do we want to make? I'm going to say 100% you should always pick the future. It's easy to tap into the past and analyze the past and go over the past and pick up the energy of the past because you've already experienced it. But I think this time you need to take the helm of looking into the future. So get your crystal balls out, envision, dream, and put it out into the ether of what it is that you really, really want. And it might be stranger than fiction, but it actually could become your reality. So that is that full moon on the 4th of December. So stay tuned. We'll talk about the new moon. The moon is waning in up into or waxing up into this full moon. So we're building the light. It's a good time to start something. Okay, have a great one, guys. Bye bye.